Well, Russian officials continue to be zeroed as flies. Just yesterday, Starovoyt, this is the surname of the guy who was the Minister of Transport of the Russian Federation, was found unalived in his car. Well, official Russian investigation already said that it was the self-KA. But something tells me that it wasn't like that at all, because at the same day Putin dismissed the guy from his position of the Minister of Transport. We all understand what happened recently with the Russian airports. Basically, they were closed for many hours, some of the airfields for many of the days. Roughly 2,000 flights were cancelled to Russian passengers stuck elsewhere in Turkey, Egypt, where they went for their vacations. And not only, as estimated because of the Ukrainian drone operations, Russia has the losses of nearly $250 million for just a couple of days. That's why it's important for Ukraine to continue to send the drones. They may just fly there, not hitting anything, but it would be enough for Russia to close the airfields, commercial airports, and in this case it might paralyze the Russian economy. The Russian finances really depended on aviation transport, but now they struggle with it, as you may see. They might deliver some of the spare parts to maintain their stalling Boeings and Airbuses, well, at least some amount of those airplanes. Mostly they cannibalize those airplanes, but there are the ways how they still may get the parts. However, they cannot do anything with the Ukrainian drones. Drones continue to fly. Russia is in lack of the proper air defense. They shut down Ukrainian drones, but not every Ukrainian drone. Some of them still go and hit targets. I'm gonna show you some of the images today. So I think those crazy losses of the Russian economy and the fact that the chaos is spread within Russia, Moscow, St. Petersburg, that led to this dismiss of the transport minister of the Russian Federation. And after it, maybe he knew too much. Because before he was actually a governor of the Kursk Oblast. After him, there was another governor of the Kursk Oblast who was jailed. I would say Kursk region is not that profitable for governors of Russia. Also, the top managers of the Russian huge oil companies continue to jump through the windows. Like, for example, it happened recently with this guy. A Russian oil executive found dead outside his window, state media says. The name of the guy was Davydov, and yeah, I watched many times him speaking on Russian TV. He was the deputy or vice president of Russia's national oil pipeline. Transneft has been found unalived, allegedly falling out of the window. It happened in Moscow. The similar stuff goes for the Russian generals. 5 days ago, Russia jails the senior defense official for certain years in corruption trials, certain years of colony, so severe conditions will be out there in prison. The name of the guy is Timur Ivanov, and he was the deputy of Shoigu. We all know what happened to Shoigu. He was dismissed from his position. Allegedly, Putin removed Shoigu and didn't want to jail him because he was, after all, kind of the media figure out there. And in a way, Putin would support Prigozhin's idea. Remember this case, Shoigu, where is the munition? But it's impossible to change the Russian corrupt system. You can replace everyone there, generals, commanders, managers, it will still be corrupt because it is being created from the top. So fish is rotten from the head. And that head, so Putin and his FSB, small FSB circle, they want to see just loyal people, not professionals. And those loyal people, they usually need money. So yeah, on this picture you may see this Timur Ivanov, the deputy of Shoigu. He was together with Putin. Everything is fine, but at any time, Putin may jail or window someone. And I would say it creates some sort of the uncertainty for the part, at least, of the Russian elite. So that part may look for alternate leader in Russia. They, I think, absolutely 100% want to replace Putin. For now, they're just afraid to do it, but in the future, they may do it. Or at least try sponsoring the second Prigozhin. This is happening in Moscow. Fresh video filmed this morning. Again, I see Ukrainian looted drone, and this is what leads to the closure of the Russian airspace, and they don't have any other choice. Based on the case with Azerbaijani Embraer, which was shut down by the Russian defense, it is understandable that there is no way commercial traffic is safe in the Russian skies, at least by the time of those attacks. And for Russia, it would be the huge internal issue if they shut down their own commercial jet. That's why they don't have the other choice rather than to close the aviation connection. And I see in the future that Russians might go further away to the east, to Siberia, to fly from Siberia via China to Turkey. It could be a way out for them to have a vacation. And here I want to share my thanks to Patreon supporters and also members of the channel. Guys, you're doing a fantastic job supporting my motivation, because without you, I am unable to film that frequently. Because first of all, it's my full-time job. Without your support, I would be looking for other job elsewhere, and I would spend less time for my videos. So again, thank you very much, and the link for my Patreon you may find right in the video description below. If you guys don't have the opportunity to support me like that, I'm asking you to press like to this video and also subscribe for this channel, because if you do it, you'll boost this video, really boost. It helps a lot in YouTube algorithm, so more people would watch what I do here on my channel. I would say that it's even our channel. Well, anyways, guys, you are awesome, and thank you for your kind support. Drones are also very effective against the front lines. We have the new image presented by the Magyar Birds unit, and this is the Russian Grad system. The kaboom there, guys, is crazy. So drone flown, here you can see this vehicle, it hit it very hard, and the kaboom was enormous, like, ow. I'll share the full video on my Telegram channel as usual. The kaboom happened in the eastern side of Ukraine between Andriivka and Yasenova, and also between Zaporizhia small village. I guess it happened roughly 10 kilometers away from the active battle zone, so Russians brought this Grad very close to the front lines. Well, as you may see, they have losses even behind the front lines. By the way, in this area Russia has the most of success, and if we switch to the map, let's review it. Let's check out the Mykov Center 3 map. I'm gonna put the link for it, and we don't have the latest update here with those Russian losses of the Grad, but what I can tell you mainly that Ukraine stopped the Russian offensive all along the front lines except a single point in Kamar. So here Russia has indeed the advantage. They move ahead. This information I got from our commander officer from his channel. So he stated that Ukraine was capable to repel the Russian attacks towards Dnipropetrovsk region. He even mentioned that Ukraine was capable to return some of the positions. He told about this part, so Udachne, Kotlarivka, Novoselivka, so this direction is kind of good for Ukraine. But he stated that in general the picture is not that bright, because in direction of Kamar is over here, Russia continued their attacks quite successfully, slow but successfully. That's the only successful place for Russians nowadays. They tried in Sumy, they stalled, they tried to go to Dnipropetrovsk border here, they stalled, but here they took this village, and they're very close to Tolstoy, according to the information from the other sources. For example, here Deep State shows different pictures, so Tolstoy is being already attacked by Russians. And we have this update, so gray area is fully red now. Ukraine went, crossed this river, and Russians unfortunately managed to cross the river as well. They're now keeping this highway under control, or maybe it's just a road, not a highway. So yeah, Russia has more resources, that's why they're taking the ground, but Putin wanted more. It is already understandable that summer campaign mainly failed for Russia, because Pokrovsk is still under Ukrainian control, Konstantinovka too. Well, the press like the New York Times, they say that Ukrainian troops struggle to hold the line on Eastern Front. No. NYT posts that stuff for the big headline, or maybe warn Americans that we need to support Ukraine more. The realities on the front lines, we see them, they are not that dark as New York Times mentioned. I would say that before it was the worst situation for Ukraine, then Russia jumped from Avdiivka to Pokrovsk. They did it quite fast, but now not any longer. Ukraine is doing far better job than most of the analytics predict. Again, Pokrovsk is still under Ukrainian control, and Konstantinovka too. Russians didn't manage even to occupy Chasiv Yar fully, as well as Toretsk. They reported on 7th of February that they've occupied Toretsk. February, and now it's July. So you might understand how fast they are going. Yeah, if there are no big villages and towns for Ukraine, it's more difficult to build defense lines. The villages themselves are hard to take. And for this reason, actually, Russia chose to attack this direction because they want to take all of this territory. The territory to show to Putin that, hooray, we're winning. However, it has no perspective even if they capture a few of those villages, because here is the natural defense line, I would say, the river and some of the hills. By the way, let's check out also the 3D map. So here we are speaking about the Tolstoy village. You may see the recent update of this map. It's quite small propulsion of the Russian army, and I want to check this river plus this line of the hills. Let's go there and check, because actually it might hold Russians. I think this is the natural obstacle for them. Yeah, the hill is not that big, but still it is out there, and the river, yeah, the hill goes up over here. Russia may actually capture this village, Andreevka Klivtsova, but the hill goes all the way. So yeah, it's the natural obstacle which might hold Russians in the future perspective, because I think that the war again might continue for a very long time. Meanwhile, Russian Z bloggers are kind of surprised about the official reports of the Russian military command. The Russian General Command report about the liberation of Radkovka, Moskovka and Sobolevka. All of those villages are located at the eastern side of Kupiansk. Kupiansk is the city in Kharkiv region which was liberated before by Ukraine. That's why, according to the official Russian information, the situation is like this, so the city is half encircled. However, Russian military bloggers say, and it is true, that there is no any visual confirmation of those villages to be occupied by Russia. What is happening is a pure imagination of the Russian General Staff Command, and probably they give this information to Putin as well. So for Putin, Russia will take Kupiansk in a matter of days. But in fact, it's like that, and it's just a Russian dream to go here, not the fact that they deployed their forces with attack missions, no. And what might help Ukraine to hold the ground more strongly? Well, here we have the response. Barak Ravid, who is the correspondent of the Axios, the agency which shares some of the close information, but sometimes it's hard to confirm that. Well, anyways, he quoted Trump here, who said in one of the meetings that we're going to have to send more weapons to Ukraine, defensive weapons. They have to defend themselves. And I guess it's not that far from reality. I think after the conversation with Zelensky, Donny decided to confirm the supplyment of some of the defense weapons to Ukraine. I mean air defense, because Ukraine absolutely needs that stuff. White House officials on a briefing also mentioned that Donald Trump didn't halt weapons for Ukraine. It was like the pause for revision. That's what they say. Well, I hope that altogether Ukraine will have not just the air defense systems, but some of the other systems, like, for example, shells for HIMARS, shells for artillery, which might help to stop Russia on the front lines. Why am I so sure that Ukraine, after all, may receive more weapons? Is because Zelensky was quite positive about conversation between him and Donald Trump. Well, at least for now, I see positive signs. Let's wait a little for the final decision, because the previous decision made was actually to halt the support of Ukraine. Not entirely, as some of the Ukrainian officials say, but some of the support indeed was on pause. So everything also depends on capabilities to produce air defense missiles, for example, for our allies. CNN journalist Kathleen Collins also mentioned that Donald Trump is ready to send more weapons to Ukraine. We're gonna send some more weapons. Also here she posted that Donny is not happy with President Putin at all. President Trump says, if I can stop a war, you know, because I have an ability to do so. I'm disappointed, frankly, that President Putin hasn't stopped. I'm not happy about it either. But Donny stated that he's quite happy about President Zelensky and their conversation. So yeah, Zelensky is just following any sort of the Trump's initiative. Idea and strategy of Ukraine is chosen correctly from the diplomatic point of view, is to agree on any sort of the proposal and to show that it's Vladimir Putin who disagrees with everything. Alright, and there was the meeting, and they took this information from it, so let's listen to it. We have Russian subtitles because it's on Solovyov Live. Yeah, Russian channels share this information as well.
we're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves.
So yeah, we're gonna send more weapons. They have to defend themselves, and seems like Pete Hexet, he says, okay. He halted the military support for Ukraine at least 2 of the times, but yeah, he would do whatever Trump tells him to do. Trump also mentioned that defense weapons will be sent first of all. First of all, it means not only defense weapons will be sent, which is good. Yeah, and see from the Russian reactions, they're not very happy. So probably general opinion matters, because Donny, he is not isolated from internet or from the news. At least he reads the New York Post, he watches Fox News, and their journalists also mentioned that it's better to support Ukraine. And everyone was shocked a few days ago that America again paused or stopped the military support. And now Donny will have the positive reaction, and in this video I will not even call him an idiot. It doesn't matter that he will not be an idiot, he really is, but at least here it is a good sign. But he does it not to support Ukraine, he cares about his own rating, that's it. But what does Russia say? The foreign minister of Russia, Lavrov, mentioned that Ukraine should denazify itself, demilitarize itself, plus also agree on the occupation of its territories. We are speaking about Crimea and Donbass, plus also the southern part of Ukraine, and we are speaking about the lands which are not under the Russian control. Plus, all of the world should recognize those territories as Russians. I wonder who will recognize those as Russians. Maybe just North Korea. They did it already, but not the world. Plus, according to Lavrov and Putin, Ukraine should give up its demands to seek for compensation from Russia for their special military operation in Ukraine. So-called reparations. Well, everything of that means that Russia is not looking for peace. And yeah, there was the conference with Elon Musk, who is the father of Elon Musk. He is in Russia, and he stated that he might go to occupied territories of Ukraine to visit those. Donetsk, Luhansk. Guys, this is total cringe. Meanwhile, Elon Musk already for the second day stating that he's launching his own party. Its name is America Party. Okay, let it be. They will take some votes from MAGA and they will lose the next elections. Awesome. Also, if this party gets some of the congressional seats, it will be just a tiny little minority. Elon here with his party is doing a political operation against MAGA and I would say even Republican. I personally have nothing against Democratic Party or Republican Party, but Donald Trump's ideas are crazy and MAGA movement is crazy too, I think. However, even among MAGA, we have Ukrainian supporters. Not as much as from other parties, but we have. And the fresh article from Politica, halted military aid for Ukraine may start flowing again. There will be the conversation between Ukrainian group and American one of what really Ukraine needs nowadays, and in the coming days, this week, maximum the next one, the military support will be renewed. It is already understandable. Simply, guys, there is no big tool to act on Russia. The main one is to support the Ukrainian army, which is now in direct confrontation with the Russian one. Alright guys, about the tube operation, actually I wasn't correct saying that those Russian soldiers got cancer. No, it may not develop that fast, but they had severe issues with their lungs. They had chronic disease. All of them have troubles with breathing, diagnosed as bronchitis, but in fact it's much deeper into lungs. Lungs are just swollen, so I'm not the medic here to give my own diagnosis, but Russian soldiers, they continue to say that they struggle after the tube operation. On one of the recent conferences, Putin was told that Russia is working to develop the robot soldiers whom they may send to those tubes. But Putin said, why should we do it? Because, we have our soldiers who do their job very well with the tube operation in Suja, our heroes, blah, blah, blah. Well, maybe he doesn't know about the health conditions of those soldiers, and he didn't want to invest money into robot production. Robot production sounds funny if we speak about the Russian context. Fuckers, I don't know, I don't have other words, guys. Russian drone operators continue to train themselves hitting birds in Ukrainian skies. For example, this is the Pelican. It was shared on Russian Telegram channels, and it's not the first time that I see it. I just decided to speak about it at first here because it is not okay for normal human beings to behave like that. Guys, this is terrible. And this is Ukrainian channel, Zala drone, Russian Federation. You understand what happened to it. While Netherlands will protect the skies over the Eastern Europe, Dutch defense minister says, and they will use for it modern-day F-35 fighter jets. Fantastic news. Well, for now, to speak just about Poland, I wonder if this initiative would extend also towards the Baltic countries, because they are actually under the big threat. At the same time, China put in service their G20S two-seater, the first in the world two-seater stealth technology fighter jet. You may see those planes here, kind of the long, clumsy, two engines. Well, after all, it's better to have small, nimble airplanes and to deliver them with the help of the air carriers or with the help of the air tankers, which extend the range of the small fighter jets, because small means less detectable. Nevertheless, you may see that China introduces new military technologies in its army, and they have economy to do so, unlike Russia. And guys, now please don't forget to press your huge like to this video, also subscribe for the channel. By doing so, you help me a lot, really. And I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.